with Jess Lujan.
Political status is our subject tonight. Of course, I'm joined by a graduate student from the University of Guam and two professors, Rivera and Magnich tonight, of course, Sabu Kalingo. Sabu, we talked earlier about, again, not based on the current law, not being able to vote. Now, we all know as U.S. citizens, because you are a U.S. citizen, we are a second-class U.S. citizen status at this point. Obama said so in his reply to the courts. But how does that make you feel? Because not only are you a second-class U.S. citizen, but then you're not be able to vote in a plebiscite. So that downgrades you a little more, doesn't it? You're demoted even more, right?
Again, in general, just like I mentioned earlier, being the man from nowhere, that alone I feel bad.
Well, you're somewhere here tonight, okay? That's okay.
Thanks. But again, being from Guam, again, this is my home, and for them to tell me that I'm not able to vote, that alone for me, again, I feel bad. And then for Obama saying that we are second-class citizens, bad enough here in Guam alone, I'm already not considered a citizen, technically, because I can't vote, you know. So that, yes, in reality, kind of shoots me down, and not just me. I'm pretty sure there's a lot of people like me that that are not from Guam, but born and raised in Guam, and don't have that right.
Now, Docs, so down the line, before political status, down the line, the courts rule, whatever it may rule, which I don't think they're going to rule because that's Congress's thing. The court's not going to do that, not a political issue anyway. But they do say Guam and the territories can vote for president. Now, some folks will say, well, wait a minute, because you're pushing us towards statehood now. You're pushing us towards statehood, and we haven't decided that. So how do we know we want to vote for president if we haven't decided? Because independence, should the people want independence, we may not want to vote for president. Free association, maybe we may do. Full integration, yeah, we'll vote for presidency. But again, of the three statuses that we're looking at, unlikely that the Congress will grant us statehood. Unlikely will be granted independence. The more likely of the three choices for free association. So where are we at? Because we're kind of like a chop suey here at Docs.
Yeah, and so, you know, I mean, I think, you know, second-class citizens, first-class potential, right? And so when we look at the options before us, we can either go with the likely choice, which is strategic, or we can go with the choice that we want, you know, and usually choices that we want and that other people are not going to readily give us, which we know to be true, are not going to come easy, right? So then it becomes a matter of what kind of mindset are we going to go or use going into it. In strategic management, when we talk about it, this can either be a brainstorming exercise where we throw everything onto the table and try to find the best solution, or it can be a wildstorming exercise, right? Going to the moon was a wildstorming exercise at the time. People thought it was impossible.
Some people still dispute whether or not we went.
Right, right. And so, but for better or for worse, you know, it got to a point where people decided that no matter what people say about its possibilities, we're going to make it happen. And so everything started to shift from that point forward to what are we going to do and what do we need to do to make it happen. And so in these contexts, you know, if we decide as a unified voice which one we want, whether or not it is going to be something that someone's going to grant us easily or it's going to be some work. And some of the best things in life are those things you have to work for, right? And so when you do it, and hey, the first time we got citizenship, it took a walkout. So, you know, it took some effort. And so this is not going to be given to us on a silver platter, and nothing for our people has ever become easy. You know, we're a people of resiliency. That says something about us. And that resiliency came not because things were easy, but because things were difficult, but we've triumphed always as a people. And so when we look at it, you know, it goes back to what you were saying, is that we have three options at the table. For me, you know, let's get to one, whatever that is. And then once we get to the one, then let's figure out all of the things that we can do to make it possible. And all these hurdles then become challenges to overcome, not hurdles anymore.
Now, Hawaii had a unique thing here because they were an incorporated territory as opposed to unincorporated. They were incorporated with the promise, basically, of statehood. Now, so do we get ourselves? I mean, do we again move? I mean, rather than the three different statuses yet, do we take a baby step and says, let's become incorporated first? Or not? What do you, I mean.
Sure. The only thing that substantively would happen if Guam became incorporated is we'd start paying federal income taxes, which is an element of incorporation.
And some people just don't want to pay taxes.
I don't want to pay federal income taxes.
They don't want to pay taxes. They don't have time to pay taxes.
Right. Oh yeah, some don't have time.
Yeah. Okay.
And then certain other provisions of the U.S. Constitution. Incorporation means almost all the provisions of the U.S. Constitution apply to the territory. Interestingly enough, Guam has so many. It's like a buffet. It's not a three-choice menu. We have a buffet. It's like one of the items on the buffet is make your own mix and they fry it up in the back room or whatever. There's that option. Let me give you an example. If we wanted to, we could ask Alaska to align with us and we could freely associate with the state of Alaska. Keep everything the same, ask them to cooperatively agree with us, to let us vote for president, to help represent us in the U.S. Senate, and try it on a pilot basis just for a few years, see if it works. And the only thing that Alaska gets from us is our population to push up their congressional districting. And the thing we get is representation of the Senate and also the ability to vote nominally for president because Alaska only has 3 electoral votes and it's a nominal vote anyway. But to be frank, my point is there's all kinds of opportunities that we haven't even gotten people to talk about because everyone's shutting down the conversation.
Well, and that's it, you know, because again, a couple of weeks back, the Commission on Colonization called a meeting, and two people showed up: the executive director and one of the senators.
Right. None
of the 3 different status that were supposed to represent what the people would vote for even came out. Now, again, it's not a slowdown. As you said, it's shutting down. If we're going to move, if in fact 2 years from now we're going to vote, if in fact that's going to happen, shouldn't we be having discussions after discussion? Your classes should be bombarded with students and professors and people wanting to know, can I just audit your class because I want to know.
We do it all the time at our level. We talk about it all the time. And we make people mad at us all the time. And that's okay. It's okay for people to get angry sometimes when we talk about things or not agree with us. Just because I have an opinion you don't agree with doesn't mean I'm wrong or I've made an error. It simply means you don't agree with
That's right. That's right.
Unfortunately, though, we haven't allowed people. And you know, when I was on the Political Status Commission, I was on the statehood side for about 5 or 6 years. I made every single meeting. We had a lot of great people on it. And so I think part of it is getting those task forces organized and energized a little bit. To be frank, it's a little bit disappointing that the task forces, which should be operating their own little games, they have 3 little games going on, should be active and vibrant and open and discussing these things regardless of their angle on it. And I'll tell you, nothing is going to help us more than to get people to talk about this issue. And there's something else, it's the point that John raised. Every time the federal government says no or they don't like something that we're doing, whether it's the Commonwealth or the Constitution effort when it was voted down locally here, people here pack up their toys and cry and go home. You're not going to get anywhere in the improvement of government game if you act like that. You've got to dust yourself off, stand back up, and start over and take it as feedback.
I mean, Virgin Islands, how many political status votes have they had?
They've had several, I think 3. They've had 3 constitutional. Okay. And you know, Virgin Islands and Guam, there's lots of ways to resolve the Constitution. They've had 3 constitutional conventions. There's lots of ways to resolve things, and they've actually tried and made efforts. We haven't tried. We've heard a lot of politicians quacking a lot about this, and they claim to like it, and they claim to represent this or that. But I have to tell you, there's no substance to any of it, in my view. It's just quacking.
Yeah, okay. I got to take a break. Again, we're probably going to have time to say goodbye, but thank you very much. Be right back.